Some of them are useless. Some of them have such a bad attitude you could kick their ass every 5 seconds. And some of them are just so damn stupid you wonder what's been their purpose of being designed at all. This is Kitty, and I'm talking about my personal top 10 most annoying characters in Final Fantasy. I'm not only gonna focus about main or playable characters, but on characters that appear more times than just random NPCs, you know what I mean? Some of the games have managed to create a great cast where you feel attached to most of the characters, like in 10, 7, or 12. And others are magnificent games with super cool main heroes, but obviously useless side characters. And one of these cases is Final Fantasy VI. It probably contains the widest range of battle characters to pick from. If you didn't miss any important quests, you have a whopping 14 different characters in your group. At some point in the story, I just didn't care about the newcomers, cause there already was a bunch of them. I was happy with my invincible team of Tellah, Edgar, Locke, and Shadow that I completely lost my fascination for Strago, Realm, Setzer, and Gogo. But one of these shineless characters shows up right at the beginning. Mog. I mean, I really hated Mog in Final Fantasy XIII too, and Lightning Returns, which I played firstly, but at least he could give some useful information sometimes. But seriously, this Mog is simply dull and boring. I appreciate that his friend saved unconscious Terra out of the cave, but I expected a little bit more of hero content there. Normally in fairy tales, these fabulous creatures are the most powerful in the universe. Why aren't the Mogs? This one made it to escape the bad reputation too. Okay, as said, there are games who have a horrible cast except for the main characters that balance each other from there. But there is one game where the developers might have gone drunk for weeks when they designed this. I know I placed Luneth on an honorable mention spot of my top 10 Final Fantasy boys countdown, but only for his looks, to be honest here. No one in this game is even likable. The game thought, oh, Luneth is the main character, so we don't need to give him any special features. He is handsome and strong-hearted and brave, like every average hero in every average story that parents read to their kids. The only female person in the cast has no sex appeal, at least in my view, and doesn't even have a bond between one of the others. And if she had, I didn't realize. Bad storytelling, Square. Ark is just as whiny and nerdy as a 5th grader that accidentally got stuck in a fantasy adventure, and Ingus has a stupid name.
You suck.
Even the NPCs or the persons you deal with are annoying, except for Dash. I really liked him. Let me give you an example. I kept watching the preview of 3 on YouTube many times before I could finally buy the NDS version, and it looked very promising. At the end of the trailer, you see a mysteriously beautiful girl named Arya, and while you're playing the game, you keep wondering, when is Arya gonna appear? I want to see her. And then she does appear and dies shortly after that. Then I hated her.
You and I are partners, Hope.
Another prime example of bad casting is Final Fantasy XIII, and that is actually the only reason I comprehend for people's hatred against this one. I love Lightning so much that I shut out everything else. She was always in the team, so I didn't care about the others. Well, almost. I mean, I tried to stick to Lightning, like clutching at straws while I'm whirling in a vortex of annoying characters.
What?
You mean snow?
Okay, time to hunt some.
I love winter, but I don't like snow. If a hero dose of optimism and vigor result in a douchebag like him, I'd rather take a backseat. Honestly, how can a human being possibly never, ever, ever ran out of hope in a way like Snow does. His superimposed son-in-law grin, his stupid ideas like founding a group of idiots or rescuing his love by placing her back at the place of incident, and his outdated style of fighting are no traits you would dedicate to a hero in a modern world like 13 has to offer. Sadly, my wish of getting rid of him was being destroyed over and over again. Lightning said it all. Snow is too stubborn to die.
Ow. I knew you were hard-headed.
That was ow.
I love Final Fantasy IX, but we have to admit that it contains some weird races. Just mentioning the Burmesians, the Black Mages, or the Genomes. 9 scores with dominant women like Beatrix, one of the coolest villains in the franchise, Queen Brain, who actually deserves a spot on this list just for her horrifying looks, Freya, who's something like the female complement to Cain, and Garnet and Ica, whose summons are essential to the plot. The males are rather cheeky, funny, or female. So Square might have thought, okay, we have Steiner, but we still need a mysterious, strong guy that little kids could admire. And they came up with Amarant. Oh yeah, Amarant is another pictorial name, just like Garnet and Lily. We are so inventive. I'm being serious here, this name was designed for the cool sound. Amarant. It's not meant to have a deeper relation to its bearer. In the German version, his name is Mahagon, which sounds similar to the German word for mahogany, which got nothing to do with Amarant. It's just pointless. It doesn't help that these tentacles on his head are dyed in Amarant red. His whole character makes no sense. He's not necessary to the plot. He doesn't undergo a thrilling development. He fights like a jerk and is not able to let loose words that have a logical context.
Tears do not bring back the dead, boy. Anna's death must be avenged. I'll find this gold biz.
I think he's in the wrong business. Imagine he would have his own talk show instead, or his own supporting hotline. Tell it to Tellah, the best life coach on the telephone and television. He doesn't seem to be a loving father. He's way too old. He's rather the quirky eremite of your village where everybody knows he exists, but never saw him in person. His spells are very effective, but you deal with him within the first 10 hours of gameplay. You don't own hordes of ethers, so if he runs out of mana, he's entirely useless. He cannot strike in close battle, he has a low defense, and a voice that makes you want to kill old bastards like him. His death was so predictable, it wouldn't have been said even if he'd been a cool character. I was just waiting for him to be killed and waved my hands after he had casted that damn meteor spell and got out of my team.
Please, avenge Anna.
Nooge. What kind of name is that? Nooge. Sounds like a label for pacifiers or a cuss word among wrangling kindergartners. You hit like a girl, you're such a Nooge. What the hell did his parents think of when they named him after something you can easily turn into this?
I went through a lot of trouble gathering those pieces, all for Noogie Woogie.
His gang is actually pretty cool. Barrel-Eye has an awesome hairstyle, and the voice actor of Gipple is the same one than the one of Zack Fair. Ah, memories. But Nooge has a stupid name and stupid clothing. What is that anyway? A red light jumpsuit with a cheap looking zipper that extends right to his balls? Oh Jesus, I don't want to see them. A Zemi feather collar because he couldn't afford a whole one, and a few metal plates he got from scrap trading. Or in that case, crap trading, because it looks like crap. It doesn't look like an outfit. How come that he's become the leader of the youth league? How do people follow his orders? Why in the world do they even take someone like him seriously? He has no good plans in mind, no leader quality, a ridiculous appearance, and an annoying mistress. Thumbs down for Nooge. Well, again, Final Fantasy XIII, and again, something that's got to do with snow. Who could be any more annoying than this wannabe hero? I got the answer for you. The crowd he assembled. Nora.
Hey, Snow! Hey! Where you been?
Another stupid name for another stupid squad. Firstly, they have been formed by volunteers, people who voluntarily follow him. Can't be right up top. Even Hope realized that, and he was 14 to that time. Nora was supposed to be the cool gang of the cool team leader, so the players immediately feel motivated when they start the game. Well, I felt motivated after I saw Lightning firing a rocket launcher on a traveling train. But definitely not after I was introduced to these trigger-happy idiots who have no clue what they're doing, aren't a bit successful in what they're doing, and also aren't prepared for being a resistance group. They clothe like teenagers who go on a party, but not like rebels on the battlefield. I knew it couldn't get any better after I learned that there is someone named Nooge among them.
What?
I hate to admit it because I absolutely love Final Fantasy IV, maybe even more than I love 9. But some characters really got on my nerves, and their poorly staged death scenes, which weren't for good anyway, made my rejection for them even stronger. Palom and Porom were irritating. Sid was someone whom I had a revulsion at, but one person was even worse. The others had at least good battle skills, but Edward sucked on every level. Low health and mana points, awfully low hit points, an absurd weapon, and a boring background story even in the after years. Don't get me wrong, I don't have nothing against men who have feminine traits or weep easily, but Edward just doesn't provide an overall picture. I can't say a thing about his personality. He doesn't seem to have his own opinions, and I don't feel the bond he ought to have with his lute, an instrument I adore, basically. To me, it came over the way that Edward has no notion of anything, has no specific role in the plot, and therefore it doesn't make much sense in the whole game anyway.
And I would not wish to see you fawning like a fool. Please, I've desperate need of your help right now.
As I was saying, Final Fantasy IX has a lot of weird races. I still don't know how you would call the race of Quina or Quina. He, she, or it doesn't seem to have much in common with the queen, so let's stick with Quina. Some say it looks so cute because of the giant chef's cap and his funny talking, but I think it's terrifying. I think it looks like a deformed monster with a giant fork who's chasing animals in the swamps. Imagine you would be in the menu and not the frogs. And he even got taught in chasing frogs and cooking them. It is said he grows up from eating them. He's not an animal, but he seems to be a higher species and still acts like a savage. Even the tribe of Pocahontas would have condemned him. Besides, the frogs of 9 really look cute. I found his ability of using blue magic a bit shiftless because learning from fiends requires intelligence and adaptability. It would have matched Freya or even Amarant in a better way than this long-tongued, cross-eyed, frog-cooking marsh dude. He has special abilities that can strike pretty hard, it's true, but I don't want to win a fight by eating up my enemy. It feels just as unpleasant as the exploding attack of Kimari. Something's just not right. A victory should be different, uncompromising. Can it get any worse than Quina? Trust me, it can. But before I come to my number 1 of the most annoying FF characters, here are some dishonorable mentions for you.
It's nothing.
Don't strain yourself.
Tell us what happened after that.
Well, 3 days later,
Yeah?
it came back.
We complete it.
The whole cast, including the side characters, is not very likable in Final Fantasy XIII. But with Vanille, Square created the straw that broke the camel's back. Her nice British accent doesn't change that she has a pinched, mewling, very annoying voice. When I firstly saw her picture in magazines, I was stunned by her beauty and her gorgeous hair color. So much the more I was disappointed that the interesting lady coming from a remote village in the wild is nothing more but an angst-ridden, never deliberating and hyperactive girl that is 19 years old but acts like a toddler. Her optimism and her euphoria are insincere, resembling Snow's behavior, and almost embarrassing for the player.
Hop to it, let's go.
Look, I'm really sorry for being that withering, but Vanille is just...
Right here.
fan service. The game would have been a total bummer if she had been the main character. Square decided wisely to replace her with Lightning. She definitely has interesting struggles, meaning the relation to Fang, or the way she deals with her fault. She could have been a great character, but her childish behavior just doesn't match her figure and simply appears exaggerated. The only scene where I was enjoying listening to her was during her dispute with Saz, because she left her own comfort zone and got serious the first and the last time. She is the strongest healer in the group, and her death spell is indispensable if you want to defeat the Adamantium. Apart from that, she's rather weak, has one of the dumbest weapons in the history of Final Fantasy, and constantly makes me want to jump at the screen and choke her. No matter how serious the affair, she is giggling and abnormally cheerful. She destroys all the suspense in the story, and therefore deserves the top spot on this list by a mile. Do you get annoyed by a character who didn't make it onto this list? Or do you disagree with mine? Tell me in the comments. Oh, and don't forget.
Stay away from the summoner!